Say!
Can you guys all say Team Say on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Marianne. Welcome to Teen Say, where teens can have their say and adults can see where they're coming from. Today, I have a special treat for you. We have a writing group and we have an author, Bill
Gourgey, yes.
Gourgey, thank you for being here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Marianne. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and these teenagers cannot wait to ask you lots of questions, and we can't wait to hear about all these books. This is exciting. We also have a teen
I know, that's very
author.
exciting.
Yes, and we have some girls that have published a book. So, Addie, tell us who, Addie is my assistant producer on this show, and she helped me put together this wonderful teen audience and group. Tell us how you did that. Tell us who they are.
Okay, we have several groups. One of them is Girls Inspired. My daughter's part of the group, and we also have Boy Scouts, 1547, and we also have a scout leader right over there, Miss Sharon Kuhn.
Hi, Sharon. Okay, so tell us about, so you sent out an email and
I sent out an email. I'm very involved with my children and just wanting to create opportunities for them. So when I heard about this opportunity, I said, I know who to contact, and these teens would just love this experience.
And I believe after our last show, you came to one of our shows
Yes.
about the transition from elementary school to intermediate school, and you asked me about a writing show for your daughter, and all of a sudden, a publicist called about Bill and said, we have some authors in the area, because I put out some feelers for, and
It's called karma.
and yes, and I thought, I know who to call. So,
Exactly.
and she was quick to get you all together, so I'm very thankful. Thank you very much. We should all give Addie a hand. Yay!
Yay, thank you, Addie.
Thank you. So tell us about the book that the girls group is putting together.
Yes, Girls Inspired. It's Danielle Blunt, who's actually working with the girls. So they ended up doing a couple of things. They talked about different things, short stories, poems, artwork. So on September 20th is when the girls are going to be having their book signing.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's very exciting. So we have some of the teens here that are going to, that could talk about what they did.
Right, great. Okay. So Bill, tell us, when did you become an author? Was this recent, or how long does it take?
Well, the germ has been there since college, really. So
Okay.
the germ has been there for a long time. I won't say how long ago college was, but
Oh yes, tell them wait before we hear about Bill's books. So Bill also went to college and became an electrical engineer.
Right. Actually, computer science is what I went into. But I went to school in Ithaca, Cornell, and I studied electrical engineering and material science. And one of the reasons for telling you that is not to brag or anything. It's just that it works its way into my books.
What kind of author are you?
I write diversely. Poetry is my love, but I know that to be considered a good poet, you really either
Outside
need
the
to
box
be
is your poetry
outside the
book?
box. Yep.
Okay.
You either need to be dead or a professor or something to actually have your poetry read and criticized. But I also love writing science fiction.
I love poetry as well, and I write. I've been writing. I think poetry, or there's a difference, I guess, with what you call poetry or prose.
Yeah.
But I know when I had the Teen Say column, what would you consider that?
I'd call that just free verse poetry. Yeah, it's free verse. Yeah.
Poetry. And that's how I journaled. I did these sort of free verse poems,
Right,
and just explained what was what was going on in that moment. Poetry is wonderful for sharing feelings, and nobody has to read it necessarily, but it can help others for sure. And so, Bill, tell us how they can. Bill publishes poetry.
So I do, yeah. I only like 1 or 2 volumes a year, but I started my own independent press called Jack Darts Press just many years ago, back in like 2007 or 8, and have published a handful of other people's poems as well as my own over that period of time. One of my reasons for doing that, and the reason I only publish poetry for others, is that poetry is just so hard to get published. It just is. I mean, if you want to try to publish if you want to try to find
You usually have to pay for it. Like,
You do.
I had to, when I
do.
was young, I put it in what you call, and I didn't realize, but I mean, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful book, but it was like a poetry anthology or something, and you paid like $70 to $100 per poem to put them in there.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was really expensive for a teenager.
Those
to
were
do
the days
that.
of the vanity presses where they really sort of raked you over the coals. Luckily today you can do independent publishing yourself for much more economically than that, but it's still something you have to pretty much do on your own. To have an agent and then an editor and a publishing house pick you up because of your poetry is a very rare thing.
Yeah.
It's a very rare thing.
But maybe Bill can help you. We'll share his contact information.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah,
That'd be
after
great.
the show, and you guys, and we'll put it on our website as well, so kids can send you their poetry and see about you helping them out.
Sure. You know,
Yeah.
I brought a poem to read. It's about writing. If you
Yes,
guys,
you did. That's right.
Would you guys like me to read that to you?
There we go.
Okay. All right. Let's pull this out.
Yay.
It's called the inspiration was writing itself, the art of writing itself. It's called To Write. It is in my first volume of poetry, although this is a slightly modified version
I love
of
the
it.
name, by the way, Outside the Box.
Thank you. That's great.
So anyway,
That
go
was the
ahead, read
intention.
us your poem.
Okay, so it's called To Write. What's it like to really write? To start with almost nothing. Then simply jot a word or two and presto, something's coming to tell its tale to you. But even such a brilliant muse so wrapped around your knuckle won't deliver punched back prose nor stir a heartfelt chuckle. To really write, to get it right, take something made with mastery. It's to punctuate with confidence, to modify with ease, knowing when to turn a phrase just so it will not fail to please. To allude with authority, to reference with range, to pinpoint an apt metaphor that's fresh but not too strange. It's to set off vibrant word parades with exclamatory chime while pulling lofty thoughts apace, pumping predicates that rhyme and easing through indicatives, tapping colons right on time. It's knowing, just knowing when to slide in underscore or dab in a quotation or tilt the top's italic with prodigious evocation, or even when to add a dash for perfect conjugation. Or how to be the character, to reach in another's well, to show their finest moments, then plunge them back to hell, while keeping ho-hums measured for that sympathetic spell. Or when to wind the muse's plot, then unwind it once it's wound, like Mnemosyne or Lachesis, whose roulette yarn turns lost found. Of course, there are more elements, some bordering on sublime, to write what really matters that will stand the test of time.
Wow, I love that. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Wow.
So it's all about the art of writing and the fact that it's not just thoughts, but you also need to know the craft, you know, the predicates and the indicatives and things like that to really make it work. So
That's excellent. That's just awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
Let's have some feedback. Which teenager wants to share? Why don't you share? What'd you think of that?
It was interesting and it was good.
Who writes poetry? Can we pass the mic to her? What did you think of it?
I thought it was really inviting in the way that you set up with the form and its rhyme and the pattern of your words.
Thank you. What kind of poetry do you write?
I write I got inspired of it based off of this English project that we had, so I don't quite know what exactly to call it, but it's expressing myself.
Gotcha. Very nice. Very
Now,
nice.
in the book that you guys are putting out, what did you share in that book?
I talked about, or my poem was about theater and acting in general because they told me to write about my passion, so I wrote about that. So. Yeah.
Ah, very good. Did anybody write poetry in that book? Anybody? You did? Can you tell us about your poem?
So I wrote a poem to like inspire people and about their self-esteem. to not feel bad about themselves, like for how they look and stuff.
Terrific.
Very good.
Terrific.
So Bill, tell us when this is your first book?
When did I start the tome? Yes, that's my first book. Yes, it's called Glide. I started writing that. There was like a sort of a pre-Glide type story bubbling around in mid 2000s, but it was 2009 that I sat down and earnestly started writing it, and it published it in 2011. So it's been out for a
beautiful cover,
few
by the way.
years now. Thank you. For a few years now. It's actually it's been pretty widely read. Do any of you guys know of Wattpad? Have you heard of Wattpad? Yeah. Do you use it regularly?
Can you pass her the mic?
Oh, I've never published anything on Wattpad, but my friend and I, we love to read it. It is so interesting to read what people have written, and a lot of people like yourself have gotten published from Wattpad, so I really like reading new and upcoming authors on Wattpad. I love it.
It's a great place for discovery, and it's a great place as teens for you guys to go and take some of your writing out for a spin without having to worry about sort of the, the lights of the publishers and et cetera being on your writing. It's a place to get some feedback. And one of the things I like about it is that the types of feedback you get, it's a reading writing community that many millions, I think 20+ million, readers and writers on it, all from all around the world. Yeah, it's very big, from all around the world. There's a good karma to it. The types of feedback you don't get. I don't know. The internet is full of trolls. People who just like to, be critical and nasty just to be critical and nasty. Wattpad is not like that. It is not that kind of community. I don't know if that's the experience that you guys have seen. But anyway, so I put Glide up on Wattpad, and it's had more than 5.5 million reads. I've got about 10,000 followers there. So I had this tremendous experience launching Glide, and I've had some great feedback on it.
So this took approximately 2 years to write.
Yes. It took about 2 years.
And how did you publish your first book?
Well, so publishing is not for the faint of heart. That's one little bit of.
Let me step back. Did you send it for rejections, or did you?
Many rejections.
So tell us.
So I did. I tried to go the traditional route of publishing. Sent it to a number of agencies and a couple of editors or publishing houses in mostly New York, based in New York. That's where the publishing industry is the locus of it is. And for a good year and a half, received nothing but rejections. I mean, I've got a binder full of them. Some were pleasant.
All writers have those, but then
yes, it's your badge of honor. It's your badge of honor. I did, however, find an agent who was interested in it. She read the first 100 pages, and we talked about potentially signing up and having me sign up with their agency. And then I started asking her some questions about the publishing process. This was back in like 2008-ish. And she told me at this point, this was a completely written manuscript. It had been edited. I'd paid an editor to help me with it, etc. And she told me, well, it'll take at least 2 years before it gets to the bookshelves.
Long time.
All right, so I said
2 years of
2
high
years.
School. What?
And then we started talking about the finances and what the odds were of getting paid anything as a brand new author, etc. So I said, well, I know technology. So I decided that I was going to try to independently publish it myself, which is when I launched my press, Jack Darts Press, and actually I launched it a little bit earlier because I'd published my volume of poetry, but used that as my vehicle for publishing Glide. So that was the process. And as I said, since then, it's had a lot of reads. I've had modest sales through Amazon, etc. One of the drawbacks to independent publishing, there's a couple drawbacks. There's some benefits, but there's a couple drawbacks. One of the drawbacks is it's very tough to be put on the bookshelves in stores. You need to go to your local bookstores to get them to carry it. Most will, because most will carry local authors. But to get, for example, on the shelves in a Barnes & Noble across the country, that's what publishing houses do through their distribution relationships with the various outlets, and so it's really.
What about a literary agent?
Literary agents don't do that for you.
They don't.
Okay. No, it's really truly through the publishing houses. So
are you seeking a publishing house for it?
Oh, I would love to get published by a traditional publishing house at some point, but I'm also very content.
But you're doing well.
I'm very content right now, So
exactly.
it's one of the reasons why I'd love to get to get some assistance is the second drawback that I was going to get to. So drawback number one is you don't get on the bookshelves. It's not as much of a drawback, though, just to finish with that point, as it used to be because so many people buy online. And when you independently publish, you automatically get distributed into Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, and you can get into iTunes. You have to work at that one a little bit, but Kobo, there's a number of different sites, and that's how people, consume books more and more, especially this type of book, science fiction. But it's drawback number two, why it'd be nice to be represented, and that's where an agent would come in handy, and also a publishing house, and that's the marketing. Sales and marketing is a hard slog. It just takes a lot of effort, and you have to be good at it. I actually think that you guys have a little bit of an edge on people like me and Marianne, because you know social media probably better than we do. At least I'll speak for myself. You probably know it better than I do. And that is one of the best venues for marketing.
Look at what Justin who? How did he do it?
Exactly.
With what?
Right, exactly. Or Amanda.
Tell us who I'm thinking of. You have the microphone. Justin Bieber.
Oh, Justin Bieber?
Yeah, and he did it how? On YouTube. Yeah, just blasted YouTube.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Amanda Hocking is another example of a writer, teen writer. She started off as a teen writer. She's not a teen anymore. She's in her early 20s.
I didn't have any examples. That's why I had to go with Justin.
Amanda Hocking, she just started writing, and her work is good. I wouldn't call it high literature, but it's good work. She's sold millions of books now and has, millions of followers and all that. And she just did it by truly plumbing Facebook and Twitter and using all the social media to her advantage. She just knew what the heck she was doing. She was good at it and got her books out there. Yeah, and
that's great.
And now she has contracts with various publishing houses and makes a lot of money at a very young age. But that's how she started. So
tell us about the winner.
Oh, yes. So that's book 2, New Logic. It's a trilogy, by the way, the Glide trilogy. So Glide, New Logic, and the third book will be coming out shortly. It's called Genesis.
And we're going to hear about those books in a minute, but we're going to get to the logistics.
So New Logic, I submitted it for a number of different contests, and it actually won the Beverly Hills Book Award for science fiction this year. So yeah, thank you. I was hoping my phone would start ringing off the hook from some Hollywood agents, but that hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
But I'm waiting. Yep.
The covers are electrifying. They just light up. They're bound to make it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So tell us about the Glide.
So the trilogy chronicles the life of a future inventor. It's set in both near future and mid-future. The near future meaning, 20, 30 years from now, in a world that is somewhat dystopian. Don't go so far as to think Hunger Games, but it's kind of, it's dystopian in the sense that there's a number of catastrophes that have, sort of really kind of plagued the planet, not only environmental, but truly plagues and things like that. And so there's this dominant organization called the Academy that just kind of rules with an iron fist. And the prophet is at the helm of the Academy. It's a she. She actually really sort of governs with a tight fist. She, of course, thinks she's doing good by mankind because since resources are running low and there's a lot of plague and that sort of thing, if she weren't there to keep everything in order, it would just be chaos and ruin. And so she believes what she's doing is a wonderful thing. That's sort of the near future. And then the mid-future is post-Academy. It's actually a much more pleasant world. It's known as the Glide Era. And so that's the setting for the story. But the story actually chronicles the life of this inventor. His name is Dr. Magigate. He becomes known as the captain because he makes it his mission to take down the Prophet. And there are two protagonists in the story, teen protagonists, Maddie and Mike. And so what happens is, it's out in the future, in the mid-future. Maddie and Mike, who are friends, stumble upon this mansion that was the ancestral home of Captain Magigate, and they then become immersed in his story and learn about how their era, the Glide Era, which is this beautiful sort of not quite utopian. Utopias are boring, right? Nobody really likes utopias. Everything's too good. But you know, a much more friendlier world to live in, enabled by technologies. They learn how it came to be. And so Glide is the story of the transition from the Academy to the Glide Era, and the role that the captain played, or Dr. Magigate played with his technologies. It's really a story about technology and kind of what happens when we lean too heavily on our technologies to compensate for, you know, heart and soul. So yeah, that's what Glide is all about. New Logic then picks up the tale. Dr. Magigate was part of, at one point, he founded a league of scientists that he called Cape Knot, the Cape Knot scientists. And one of his colleagues turns out to be a villain, sort of an evil guy. And in book 2, New Logic, he unleashes a plague through a gaming world that he created. So he creates this gaming world that becomes extremely popular, that pretty much everybody walks around like in the game, immersed in the game, while they're also living their lives, because the game is so much more exciting and it enhances its true augmented reality. It enhances your life as you know it. So if I were sitting here and I had the gaming world going, you guys would all be trolls and fairies and things like that, according to whatever I wanted you to be, right? And it's different for every person. And so it's about how this Dr. Janot unleashes this plague through that gaming world once he's addicted everyone to using his game. And I'll leave it at that. So and then book 3 picks up from there.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah.
Now, can we pass the mic back to the gentleman in the blue sweatshirt? I'm going to ask you a brief question. I'm going to put your son on the spot. Is it exciting to have your dad as an author?
Sometimes, yes.
How old are you?
I'm 9.
What's your name?
Sawyer.
Sawyer. So, do you tell your teachers that your dad's a writer, or your friends?
I tell my friends and my teachers most of the time.
So, have you ever heard the saying that writers are weird or anything like that, or inclusive? Your father's a great speaker and he's very social. So I think writers get stereotyped a bit, don't you think?
Well, I do have my secret hat at home with a little propeller on top and my pocket liner, so I just didn't wear them today.
Gotcha. So do you do any of the weird things that writers supposedly do? Do you need certain inspiration? Like
sitting in front of my screen in my underpants and writing? Yes, every writer does do that. Yes.
So what about, like, I have to be inspired. I can write at the beach for hours and hours. If I rent a hotel room near the beach and I can write. Do you need inspiration, like the ocean or anything?
Setting-wise, no. You know, it's funny. For me, it's a time of day thing.
Okay.
I am best in the morning. I just am. You know, I grab a cup of coffee. I don't even grab anything to eat, just a cup of coffee. I go up into my office and I don't know, for some reason that's my time of day biologically. Everything just kind of works and clicks and flows and that sort of thing. By the afternoon, I'm pretty much toast. Maybe it's because I never ate breakfast, but
well, I've heard that when you're writing and you're in the character mode, and you know, you're so deep in thought with fairies and knights or whoever we're writing about, that it's a certain side of the brain, right?
Yes, it is. It's the right side, the creative side. Exactly.
The creative side, and that's pretty draining after a few hours. Some writers lay down after they write for a long time, or they need to go exercise, or they need some kind of outlet after that.
Exercise is mine, and that's absolutely true. It's funny because when I graduated from college, I was always good at science and technology. One of the reasons why I wrote in this genre. And when I graduated from college, I went to work for a computer consulting company where I was for 20 plus years.
Wow.
And so the left side of my brain was about this big, and the right side of my brain was like that.
Uh-oh, it was being stifled.
So for the last 6 years, I've been trying to get those back in balance.
Very good.
But it's really true that you use different parts of your brain. It's more exhausting to just sit there and be creative, for hours on end. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Oh, that's what I want to ask you, and I liked your response when I asked you that by phone. Tell us, writer's block.
Oh, yeah.
Do you get writer's block?
I don't. I think...
you have a strong feeling about not getting writer's block.
Yeah,
Be honest with us.
Right.
Don't hold him back.
I personally think writer's block comes from
an
just
excuse.
It's an excuse not to write. It's an excuse not to write. It's actually a combination. It's an excuse not to write, coupled with thinking too highly of your own writing. And the reason I say that is because I'll be the first one to admit that, my first drafts of stuff, the stuff I put out, is blather. It's blather. It's lousy writing. I would be ashamed to show it to you and call myself a writer. But so as long as you don't live in this world where you expect yourself to be a great writer and everything that you lay down to be pearls of both wisdom and great writing, as long as you don't live in that world,
he speaks out.
then you can write. I mean, there's no excuse for writer's block because you just some days are just lousy days. They just are. I mean, you're just not going to put much out that's worth it. And so to me, writer's block is really sort of this combination of I don't feel like sitting here. I'd rather do something else. I'd rather wash the dishes than write.
So writing is your own craft. So when you say that, like you said, you write after your coffee, a certain time of the day, every day.
Yep.
7 days a week.
Yep. It's not 7 days. I would like for it to be 7 days. But life is just life, and so for it to be 7 days is just a little too hard.
But do you have a schedule?
But I do write in the mornings. That's what I do. Yes, I write in the mornings.
So
Saturday and
Friday?
Sunday. See, the beauty of being a writer is that the week is a little bit different. Yes, Monday through Friday is Monday through Friday. That's the traditional work week, and it's when I write the most. But I'll wake up on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and as long as I'm not, running off to a soccer game or doing something, I'll go up to my office and write. Because when you wake up in the morning and you're ready to go, it doesn't matter if it's a Sunday or a Wednesday. You're ready to go.
So what about in the late afternoon if you're inspired because you've been running around all day and all of a sudden you just were inspired by something and had a character idea or to continue the story that you were thinking about as you were running around, do you go home and write?
I will absolutely. If I'm inspired and I have the window of opportunity to sit down and write, absolutely. But what I also do, and I highly recommend this for aspiring writers, is I carry around a voice recorder. You can use it nowadays. You can use your cell phone if you want.
Right.
But I grew up in the pre-cell phone days where they were as smart as they are, like smarter than me. But so I carry around a voice recorder still. It's small. It's this big, and so usually if it's late in the day and I catch an inspiration, I get it on my voice recorder.
Which is great because otherwise, what happens is, from experience, you have this great story that you're thinking of when you wake up, and then all of a sudden, later on in the day, you're like,
it's gone.
Where did that go?
It's gone. And you try to remember, and I lost that brain cell.
So I actually use a tape recorder as well, and it works very, very well.
Yeah.
So Tell us about you guys. I want those of you that consider yourself writers to put up your hands.
We have some tentative hands there.
Come
You can raise them
on,
higher.
I understand
don't
you're
be
all
ashamed to be a
writers.
writer.
All
Yes,
of your
there you
hands
go.
should be up.
Exactly.
You all write in school anyway. You have to write essays, and you have to write creatively in school. So, right? Don't they have creative writing on the SATs as well? Yes? You haven't taken the SATs. Nick, do they have creative writing on the SATs?
Not creative writing.
Can somebody hand Nick a mic?
There's not creative writing on it, but there is a writing section. So
It's like an essay, right? A
yeah,
small
essay
that you have to write.
section.
Yeah.
A little bit different than writing creatively. I can say that
Punctuation is real important on that essay.
I don't enjoy writing essay pieces, actually. Those are more definitely not
Tedious.
Yeah, they're definitely not using that creativity. It's really set what you have to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's much different to really sit down and just pour something out from your imagination. It's a lot more fun.
You know what, Nicholas, one of my writing inspirations was a professor I had in college who taught a course called The Art of the Essay. Her name was Lydia Facandini, and
Nice Italian last name.
I remember her. Yeah. And she. So she taught this course, The Art of the Essay, and I thought the same thing. Actually, I took the course because I wanted a writing course, and it was the only one that fit into my engineering schedule during the schedule during the week. So I took it, thinking, well, at least it's a writing course. It's phenomenal. And I think actually that had one of the better influences on my organizational abilities as a writer, because when you write essays, even, you're right, it's hard, but when you write essays, you have to think about the point you're trying to make and how you're going to organize your arguments into making that point. And even when you're writing creatively, if you're, for example, telling, particularly interesting or important part of the plot or about a character or something, you need to organize your thoughts to make your point, right? And so I agree with you. I'm not an essayist, will never be an essayist. However, it's an important form, and it's very helpful even for creative writers.
Yeah, I could definitely see how those things could definitely help. I mean, yeah, you got organization and grammar rules is probably a huge thing that learning to write essays helps with.
I have to be honest.
Those lots of.
So Nicholas, tell us. I like having an editor. It
Yes.
works better.
Yes,
for me.
well, that is true. That is true for every writer. Every writer, it's essential. There are certain tools to the trade, and one of them is probably one of the most important ones is a good editor.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just went to the Emmy Awards, and there were 3 or 4 actresses that turned around, and they're new actresses in LA, and they had never went to school for acting. Then you had all these other people that were there watching and doing the writing end and the entertainment end, and they went to school for acting.
Right.
But they didn't have the gift. So I think it just varies. But we do have to learn those editing skills. I'm not knocking it. So Nicholas, tell us about the Chronicles of, is it Auric?
Auric. Yep.
Auric.
Auric?
Mhm.
Yes. So what is this book? You published this book.
Yep. So.
How?
Well, I also went through self-publishing same way, and it really started out, I came up with the idea of really the larger storyline of Auric, and then I actually started writing an idea for a separate book, but then I realized it would be really more important to tell this part first, where this story starts with the main character, Auric, waking up without any memory.
This is him?
Yep. And it takes place in ancient Rome. It's fantasy.
Oh, cool.
And it's deals a lot with mythology. And this story is really his discovery of who he is. He wakes up without a memory, so he really barely even knows his own name. He's really even unsure of that. And this part of the story is important to tell first, because whereas otherwise in other parts of his journey, when he knows who he is, it's not so much about his discovery, it's about combating who he was before. So in this book, it's he.
What do you mean he's combating who he was before? So he remembers, or he doesn't like who he was?
Well, so in this book, he doesn't know who he was before, and he kind of remakes himself. But in the next books, you learn who he was before, because he gets his memory back.
And do you like that person?
And no, he's in this book, he gets flashbacks of his memory, and he does realize that he's a different person now than he was before, and it's this darker side of him that haunts him almost in this book and continues to haunt him later. And it's a lot of
great. Sounds intriguing.
Does.
Yeah.
It's played out with a lot of action and fighting, and he is a gladiator for part of the book.
So did you have to do a bunch of research on mythology and ancient Rome?
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of research on mythology. That was a major part of it. It's not only with Roman mythology, but I actually deal with a lot of other religions of the time, and I probably did a lot more research than I needed to do.
No, but that's what always happens. And by the way, save all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
Let me tell you, save all that stuff, because it will come in handy. You start doing some ebooks and things like that, or marketing activities. You can take some of that and actually make it into marketing material. You can enhance your ebooks. So there will be a day when ebooks won't be so boring as they are now, where you'll actually be able to pop up little videos and trailers and things like that while you're reading, and all that material will come in handy. For Glide and New Logic, I actually created a bunch of the captain's inventions, Dr. Magigate's inventions.
We have some of them too, to show some of the pictures.
Right. V-Phone, which
Laura,
is...
can you show us, Laura's on CG today, can you show us one of the inventions while he's talking? Anyone? Does she have?
She has Sci-Band, which is gaming gear so it's a little band that you wear right above your head that taps into your brain directly.
There we go.
To project all the images. Yes, that's a Sci-Band. And there's V-Phone, which is Future of a Phone, which is mostly glasses, but also in bracelet form, and it pops up holographic. So the screen is just a hologram, you talk to it. It comes with a Sci-Mate. So everybody in the future has a Sci-Mate, which is their cyber mate that helps them with everything they need to do, right? So it's like your alter ego, actually. But when I was doing research, my point being that when I was doing research, I started to write that stuff up on the side, right? I mean, just deep descriptions, not knowing what I was going to use it for. I now have about 75 different inventions that the Dr. Magigate came up with. Probably about a quarter of them made it into the books, but someday I'd love to do a book called The Inventions of Dr. Magigate, with all the imagery and write-ups about what they do and all that sort of stuff. So my point being that all that extra work and research can come in handy.
Also, you can go and teach some of the kids. And then tell them about your book. That would be awesome. Teachers would welcome that everywhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, mythology was actually a huge interest of mine. It's partly why I was inspired into making this a scene for the book.
So how did you decide to become a publisher? What did you do? So was it your parents' idea or your idea, or you wrote the book and then did you send it out and get rejections? What'd you do?
Well, yeah, so first I didn't intend to ever publish the book. It was first just my own writing, just for fun. I think all writers have to love reading. I think speak for everyone here. If you're a writer, you gotta love to read, and I absolutely love to read, and I've always wanted to make a book that just like the perfect book for me that I would love to read, and that's what it really started out for me doing. I just was writing a book almost for myself, and I found that while writing it, it was as much fun as reading it, if not more. So then after I finished, I realized that I really liked the story and I could share it with a lot of other people. So then I went back through, did a lot of editing, prepared it to go and present to some agents looking for a publisher. And
where would you find those agents?
Well, actually, there was a really good program, I believe it was the Washington Future Writers Convention.
Right.
And yeah, they have a lot of, they have agents and published authors, self-published authors, all kinds of people there, people representing publisher agents. Yeah, editors were there, and you got to meet with a lot of them. A lot of them spoke. So I got face-to-face meetings with some agents there, which is really cool because you get instant feedback, which is a lot better than waiting for emails.
Exactly.
Sometimes they don't even respond.
Called pitch slams. I did plenty of pitch slams too.
Yep.
Where you try to pitch your work and see what they say. Yep.
So go ahead.
So I got a lot of good feedback from that. I did send it out to a lot of editors, or a lot of agents, and I got rejections from all of them. And also, also I did I did have a couple agents actually interested as well that informed me on the process on how that would work. And I think I kind of came across the same thing that you did, that it would take 1 to 2 years to really get it on shelves. And I actually really wanted to get the book done now rather than wait till I was in college and past that to really be dealing with. And it was a lot of work that has to be done when you're going through that process, and I really didn't see myself having the time to do that while I was in school.
So what'd you do next?
So then I looked into self-publishing, and yeah, there's great.
Is it expensive to publish your first book?
Well, the most expensive part of it was I actually had to find someone else to do that amazing cover work for me.
That's exactly it.
I'm not an artist. I might be able to write, but I'm not an artist.
So did you go to the high school and find this?
No, actually I found it online. I found a really great person. He's actually 19, so around my age group, and he wants to work in graphic design, and we kind of partnered up on that.
Nice job. That's terrific.
What's his name?
Forrest ML. He's on the back cover. He has his little thing, and on the inside, it's I believe he has his website on the inside cover too.
Ah, yes, Forrest ML.
And yeah,
2014.
He did great work. That was the most expensive part of it, but the actual printing and going through was really not all that difficult. It was a lot of time, but
exciting?
It was exciting once I got the actual physical copy back. It's really cool to really hold it in your hand. You have it.
I imagine for any of these guys, just going through the process would be really exciting, right? Just like every step. Oh my gosh. So I always tell my kids baby steps, and then
ta-da!
The goal is achieved, right?
Yep.
So that's awesome. Now the girls have a book coming out. Tell us, where is that mic? Nick, can you pass that mic to Addie?
Well, I'm a parent involved, so I'm not quite sure how the process.
She's an awesome parent. I know that for a fact. I find that with stay-home moms that are doing incredible work to help you guys achieve your goals, which is phenomenal because you're the future leaders of America, right? And other countries possibly.
Right.
You know, that's hard work. I mean, we need to be there for you guys, especially teenagers. Parents forget and they think, oh, these teenagers are big enough to just stay on their own. They're not. We still have to help and we still have to push. So I find that moms are like, oh, well, I used to do this. And I have to tell you, you don't need to say that. I'm an incredible mom. And I'm home doing every group possible for my kids, like inspiring, what is it called? Inspiring Girls Inspired. So that's phenomenal. You're helping so many different girls. So go ahead, tell us about their book.
I know another incredible mom too, my wife.
Yes, for sure. She doesn't want us to give her that mic, so I'm going to leave her alone. Hi back there, though. So can we get a shot of his wife?
Brenda.
Get a shot of Brenda. So, okay, Addie, tell us.
Well, Danielle Blunt is the founder of Girls Inspired, and her mom, Dr. Blunt, also had her very involved, and she would take her to a lot of different things, and she also told me, I needed to push my daughter. My daughter's not as motivated, not motivated, I should say.
Everybody needs that push.
Yes,
yeah.
And so that's what she did. I'm just like, because sometimes I would think, am I pushing my daughter too much? But
if they want
good things come. Good things come when they realize that.
Oh, when they don't want to do it, teenagers let you know, right? Am I
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So if they're letting you push them, they want to be encouraged, I think.
Exactly. So.
So tell me about this book that's coming out.
Is there another person also here that works closely with Dr. Blunt? Because I just give her information and Danielle, but she's the one that's been, actually I think she said it's going to be coming out in Amazon. But we're going to be having a book signing in Fairfax. I believe it's from 2 to 3. I don't remember the exact location, but it will be in Fairfax.
Yeah, hand her the mic and then.
It's at the Fairfax Government Center.
Oh, awesome. And that's when? September 20th? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, so the book is pretty far along then in terms of production and being put together and everything. Got it.
Exactly.
That's great.
Tell us about your short story. I was very interested in hearing about your short story, especially because of the show Addie and I did last that we mentioned about intermediate school. So tell us about your story that's in that book.
Oh, well, I did an inspirational piece about like fitting in, I wrote it in middle school, and I thought it was important to give advice to help out people who either moved to a new school or people who are just having trouble fitting in. So I wrote inspirational pieces about how important it was to be yourself when you're making new friends and how to find people that are like you and to stay strong and stay always true to yourself. So that was kind of like the theme of my short story.
I love
That's
it.
terrific.
What's the title of your short story?
I don't think I made a title for it. I just, I got inspired from it from my friends that were writing about it, and my friends were having trouble, so I decided to write this for them. So it was kind of, that'd be my dedication it's for them.
Right. That's awesome. So who else, I'll help you pass the mic.
Okay.
I'm tired of sitting. Who else wrote a story in that wants to tell us a little about this story? Yes? What's your name?
Sarah.
Okay, Sarah, go ahead and tell us. Can you guys see Sarah? Am I making this shot hard for you? Am I in your way? Hi, Philip. Camera people, you can get the other camera people. That'll be cool. Go ahead, tell us.
I didn't actually write a story. I actually, I wrote a lot of articles for the newsletters that they have, so I think some of those are featured, and I think I wrote some poems. I wrote a lot of stuff, so I don't really remember much of it, but
you're in a book?
yeah.
It's coming out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do any of you does anybody else who else wrote in the book? Do you want to share what you wrote in the book? How many of you put up your hands? Who else wrote in the book? Do you want to share something after her? Okay, go ahead.
So earlier, like I said, I wrote the inspirational poem. I wrote a couple others, but I don't think they put them in because I didn't push for those, but mine
But
that
your
I
inspirational one got in.
wrote, yeah, and
Awesome.
That's terrific.
that was my favorite one out of all of them.
So we don't have much time left. So does anybody have a question? Do you want to tell us real quick about yours? And somebody can think of, do you want, you don't have to. You want to tell us about yours? No. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see it in the book. What's your name?
Sophia.
Sophia what?
Mal.
No. Okay. And this is your mom. Okay. So does somebody have a question for Bill to help them become a better writer? Okay. You're a mom?
Yes, I'm the mom of Mahat. He gave me grief over putting him in creative writing, so I hope all the show will kind of help him understand how important creative writing is. But just a question, what kind of international exposure you all get when you're first-time authors or writers?
You know, it depends. For books that, for the books that are in the bookstores, not much. They pretty much just go into Amazon US, etc. However, it's becoming much more common for things like Apple's iTunes store and Amazon and some of the others to have relationships with either their own affiliates or others in foreign countries. So, for example, one of my, the U.S. is where my stuff sells best. Next best is UK, followed by Australia. All English speaking makes sense, right? Because it hasn't been translated. But on Wattpad, believe it or not, I have a bunch of followers from the Philippines, from Scandinavia, from Norway and Finland, One of my bigger fans, who's corresponded with me quite a bit, is from Germany. And so actually using a social media site like Wattpad really kind of opens the doors to an international community. In fact, one of the guys who I have, New Logic, I've been serializing that on Wattpad. And one of my really avid fans
interrupt, Bill,
is from India.
We have to get another question in because we are almost done. Go ahead. We have to kind of make the questions quick and his answers
snappy too. Okay, you got it.
Okay, go ahead.
What motivated you to keep on writing, even though you got rejected by many agents, and then?
You know, it's the same. I think it was the same thing that Nicholas had. I enjoy writing for myself, and I think that you really have to start there. You have to have a desire, and you have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy what it is you write. For me, one of the other things is writing is, even though I'm writing about other characters, it's revelational about myself. You know, when you write, there's the old saying, "You are what you eat," right? Well,
I'm glad you got to this.
The writer's corollary is you write what you are, and so then you go into
the imagination.
And you go into the imagination, projecting into the imagination, but you learn about yourself when you're writing. Even when you're imagining other worlds and other places and other characters, you learn about yourself. And to me, I don't know, I'm not a very self-reflective person. That's my way of self-reflecting, and it works very well for me and my own personal karma.
And I do have a question for you, too. So they say that a writer usually bases their story on something real or a character. Tell us about that.
So
that they know, in other words, a character they know, so the character becomes.
I mean, as I said, you write what you are and what you know, and so there, if a writer were to tell you that, oh, I made that character up, that's not based on anybody I know, it's not true. Subconsciously,
is that true,
subconsciously,
Nicholas?
it's based on your experiences.
Yes? You agree?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think everything that you write has to come from somewhere, and I think it all has its roots somewhere in your life. And there's, I think, things that happen in your life that I think direct you further to write or inspire you to write about something. Yeah, it's definitely true.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Does somebody else have a question for Bill? Yes? Speak loud.
What inspired you to write science fiction? Like, why did you want to write in that genre?
Well, my roots are in science and technology. That's just what I was good at. It's what I studied in college and went to work in. But the actual inspiration for the story is kind of a funny one. When I used to live in New Jersey, when I lived in New Jersey, we lived near a local airport that had a lot of jets coming and going. And so sometimes in the middle of the night, the sky would rumble, right, with a jet flying low overhead. And, frustrating experience being woken up by jets, your house shaking, the whole thing, right? And I remember thinking to myself one night, boy, life would be good if there was no such thing as an internal combustion engine anymore, and we didn't have to have jets and stuff. And that really was sort of one of the seeds for Glide, because Glide, the invention, is actually, I'll give it away, it's anti-gravity, or it's the ability to manipulate gravity. And once you can manipulate gravity, you don't need these big honking engines to lift things and move things and propel things, right? So it was the death of the combustion engine that kind of saved our planet for a period of time, and so that was kind of the inspiration there. Yeah.
Anybody else? A question for Bill? That was a good one. I'm glad he got into that. Questions for Bill? No? Does somebody want to share, how many of you have had writer's block? Tell us why, and then maybe Bill can help you.
Oh, I don't have it anymore, but I wanted to do something for my friend's birthday and write her a short story, because she likes my writing, because apparently I'm really witty on paper.
Oh, that's great.
So she wanted me to do this for her, so I started doing it like 2 months before her birthday, and then I couldn't figure out what I wanted to write about for her. And then like 2 days before the birthday party, I just sat down and started writing through. And
it came to you, right?
Yep.
See, that's my big belief. You just have to sit down and write. And it may stink what's coming out at first, but eventually it'll wend its way into something that starts to interest you and you can kind of work with. So Yeah, the cure to writer's block is to write.
And not be afraid.
And not be afraid of putting down junk. Yes.
Right, that it's not perfect. Yeah. Anybody else want to share something about their writing? Nobody else is talking. Come on, I want to hear from somebody. Tell us what you've written.
I don't write much.
You don't write much?
Instead, what I like to do is I play a lot of video games, so I think I jot down ideas for a video game.
Oh, that's good. You're being creative. Right. And do you write, James?
Well, when I was in first grade, there was something you could win your mom a diamond or something like that. So it's just like 2 sentences, write about how your mom is, what describes her. And then I was one of those lucky kids who ended up winning my mom a diamond. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 sentences.
Yeah, just 2 sentences.
2-sentence book.
Wow.
Well,
How big was the diamond? Let's hear. A tiny little diamond.
But it was cute because it encouraged the children. I mean, first grade to write something.
Awesome.
So I was touched when I read it. I'm like, hey, kid.
Where is that diamond
You've got
today?
It's still nice and safe, nice in a safe place. But he has his book along with many other students that contributed to it.
Awesome.
That's
wow,
great.
that should be in a frame, huh? Is it in a frame yet? Maybe frame it for Mom for Christmas. Wow, that's awesome. They're telling me we have to wrap it up. Oh my gosh, Bill, thank you so much.
Oh, it's been great, Marianne.
For
Thank
being
you
here.
so much.
Wow, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for helping us
and
put
thank you
this
for
together.
coming, everybody.
Yes, and until next time, keep plugging away at your writing.
Yes,
we'll see
please
you
do.
next time.
Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, thank you. It was fun, right? Yay. Awesome. So did you guys have a good time? Yeah. Yes?
Yeah, sure, yeah.